Tonight, what's happening to Minnesota?
We are losing jobs. We are losing value. We are becoming poorer.
We have never had this massive amount of migration, so much, so quickly, leaving the state of Minnesota.
This has been bloody awful.
Businesses are packing up.
All the investors, they're all wiped out. It's been cataclysmic, really.
Hot spots, once teeming with restaurants and stores, now empty and dangerous.
People are done. They are closing shop and things are being boarded up and they have lost hope.
They said, if you are going to get shot in downtown Minneapolis, it is going to be in this 3-block radius.
There's open warfare on the streets.
I feel like the city is run by gangs.
There was this vision that we're going to get rid of the police department.
We've lost 40% of the department.
People are going to get killed. I assure you.
Our education system, once ranked 6th in the nation, now fallen to 17th.
13 years ago, we would have laughed if we had ever thought that we would be like Louisiana and Mississippi when it comes to education.
A state government in chaos.
This is a horrible way to govern and do this for the state of Minnesota.
A city government that's anti-growth.
It is surprising what a few bad city council members can do to a city.
Business has become sort of an enemy.
We're killing the goose that laid the golden egg.
So we basically now have a socialist city council. Not just a majority, but a veto-proof majority.
This is why I'm a Marxist. This is why I'm a socialist.
Our city is dying, and they don't seem to take it seriously.
Have you ever read the DSA platform?
I have. It's frightening.
What can we learn from others who face similar crises?
Knife. Drop the knife, ma'am. Target.
It may cost us $50,000 to train someone, but it'll cost $5 million if something happens.
And where will we choose to go from here?
This city can't survive another 4 years of this. We cannot survive.
Cross our hearts and hope to die.
By these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, I know they're lying. They tricked me once, but they're not going to trick me twice. The time is now. Welcome back to the Professor Penn podcast. David Penn, your host. Glad to be with you as always for episode number 245 on strategy and tactics. We had a cold open there from the widely distributed informational special that was put together by Rick Kupchella, Precarious State. I have watched it, and I think there's something for us to gain from going back over some of the things that they said in that that special. I was watching, every time I watch it, I get something more out of it. And you know what I got this time? A great sense of enjoyment watching these people who created the chaos we're living in now throw their hands up and ask for your help. You know, I saw Pat Garofalo on there, consummate loser, collaborationist. All the rest of these people are Democrats, including Pat. And, you know, Republican in name only. You know, they believe in the progressive ideas that have brought us to this moment where the constabulary, you know, this was broadcast on a major network here in Minnesota, KSTP, I think, home of Tom Hauser, I think, Stanley Hubbard's media empire, billionaire, you know, has taken the time to promote this. Why? Well, that's because they're losing control of the monster they created. And we the people, we the citizens of Minnesota, and let's remember what Minnesota is. As Royce White said, this is the belly of the beast, the belly of the beast. And when we say the belly of the beast, what does that mean? It means we are the ideological center of United States leftism, right here at the University of Minnesota, right here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. This is the petri dish. This is where leftism is refined. So we're on the cutting edge of it. And we have a state, a beautiful state. The natural beauty of Minnesota is unparalleled. The four seasons, the green, the blue skies, the endless fields of grain. We have so much natural beauty that if you don't live right in the heart of this disaster, you don't recognize really what's coming until it hits you right in the face. We have this now right where I live. I grew up in the core cities and lived there for probably 40 years. I left the belly of the beast in 2000. I moved out to the western suburbs. Why did I do that? Well, I wasn't really running away from the core city. I'm just going to be frank. I got divorced, and every place I went, I saw my ex-wife and my little kids, and I was so sad about it. I said, I need a change. Could have moved to Florida, wouldn't do that. I just moved out to the western suburbs. And, I was not used to that. It was a completely different world for me. But I made a home out in the western suburbs in Minnetonka. Right now, I live on the border of Wayzata and Plymouth. You walk across my street, you're in Plymouth, Minnesota. And if you're listening to me in Somalia or England or Australia or around the world, around the country, I live on the border between the wealthiest spot in Minnesota, which is Wayzata. But I'm not in the rich part of Wayzata. And you cross the street, you go into Plymouth, and Plymouth becomes a very mixed economic environment. And what is happening in my neighborhood? Well, we have crime in my neighborhood. Crime. I woke up just last week to squads parked right in front of my house in the middle of the night looking for somebody. And they were there for hours with their lights on, with their microphones blaring, no sleep. Of course, my family was quite disrupted, scared. I told them, don't be scared. No reason to be scared. Doesn't help. As it says, be careful for nothing. But this crime, this degradation from a public safety standpoint is spreading throughout the state. And the economic collapse is spreading throughout the state. I'm a small businessman here in Minnesota, and I'm going to tell you, part of strategy and tactics, we're going to talk about strategy and tactics tonight. Here's a tactic. Fund the movement. And how do you do that? You go to TireGet.com, TireGet.com. You're buying tires, your family's buying tires, your friends are buying tires. I have people coming every day that know me on X, know me on YouTube. They know me. They're saying they're going to buy tires. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To WASP Society, who just bought a set of tires for me for his daughter. He didn't have to. He did it to fund what I'm doing, and I appreciate that tremendously. And you all can do that, because what we're going to do with the money is expand the programming of Free People Radio, which I now am going to say is going to be, I hope, the center of political action and strategy and tactics of organizing the state of Minnesota. And why do we have to organize? Well, guess what? It's already been organized. And I said many times during this podcast that I actually come from a leftist family and grew up in the university environment. And I happened to be in the room back in 1969 when a group of university intellectuals, professors there, laid out a plan to take the state leftist, because that's what they believed. They believed that the power structure of the time, the power structure that had brought us into the Vietnam War, needed to be overturned. And they were using Marxism, leftism, to oppose the prevailing power structure of the time. So I've been watching this for a very, very, very long time. And I've come to the conclusion that this is a battle between good and evil. You can see it many different ways. I'm entitled to see it my way. You can see it your way. I see it in spiritual, theological terms. And what I see is that forces of darkness of evil want me to choose my own imprisonment. It's very important to them that we vote for our own digital prison. Tanner, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please play number 1?
Yes, they are.
And why? Because everything that nature gives us is underpriced. Nature is underpriced itself, and the services that it gives to us. The water supply that we have is underpriced, and we don't look at over-extraction from nature and therefore that risk exists. We're not looking at land degradation loss and what that does to our economies. And so therefore the entire system of nature, and climate is part of that, obviously, is underpriced. And that is part and parcel of the conversation that we from UNEP are having with the broader world, because we cannot continue to extract from nature or emit into nature, whichever way we look at it, the resources that nature provides to us and our toxic sludge from our existence into nature, and assume that nature will continue on being in balance. So yes, it is absolutely underpriced.
So we simply have not valued key aspects of things that are now coming back
Correct.
to cost us.
In other words, that's a World Economic Forum seminar. Nature is underpriced. In other words, what we have inherited as human beings, this beautiful natural environment that many of us believe God created, is underpriced. Somebody's going to occupy it and monetize it. And why are they doing that? They're rent-seeking oligarchs, kleptocrats that are going to convince us that we have to pay more and more and more for the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the water we drink. That's what we're dealing with. Before we talk about strategy and tactics, we have to know why. Why are we creating a strategy and tactic? You know, I had the cold open. We see the problems in the state of Minnesota. That's a cover story too, see? You know, there's the problem. You create the problem, like you create a system where the state breaks down. Then you have to have a solution. And the solution, well, let me just show you what the solution is. Because as this crime spreads and this economic collapse widens and social chaos deepens, we're going to scream for help me, government, because we're no longer self-governing. Let's play number 2.
We know the government is looking at digital ID cards at the moment. How would that help prevent the situation that we're in now?
Well, Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, has said we are looking at what other countries have done to bring in a sort of digital accreditation. I think there's real actually benefits right across here, from obviously dealing with illegal working, but also actually imagine if your viewers imagine that they had one credential that would allow them to access all the different government services and our public services too. I'm sure many of your viewers often tear their hair out with all the different numbers and passwords of the different bits of government that they have to deal with. And I do think could be a real benefit here for people who are here and working legally and accessing our public services if there was one route in, as well as the benefits it could have with illegal migration. We're looking at that. I think it is an interesting idea that other countries have taken forward, and we want to learn from what they've done.
Oh, isn't that great? We have this tremendous problem with illegal immigration. Britain has it. And what's the solution? A digital ID. Let's play number 3, please.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
This is great. So we have a illegal immigration problem, which was manufactured. There's a solution. It's called the digital ID. We have a climate crisis. Do we? President Trump says we don't. He calls it the Green New scam, the greatest scam in world history. But these people are marching right along, getting ready to come up with digital solutions to track my personal decisions. Oh, really? Isn't that great? Well, let's listen to Number 4.
I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that.
Well, hey, guess what? President Trump, just today, as we wake up today, we see that President Trump has used American power to bring about a change in the Middle East. President Trump has got a lot of pressure on him from a lot of different institutions. And here he is at the UN talking about digital AI technologies. It could be very dangerous, but it could be very good. Well, isn't that the way it is with all technology? And I do not want to trust powerful technologies in the hands of kleptocrats, bureaucrats, technocrats, and professional politicians. That's just me, and I hope it's you too. What I'm laying out here is a case about why we need strategy and tactics to wrest back control of our precinct, our districts, and our state from the professionals who are here to govern us and make a better life for us. Yes, that's who they are. Let's listen to number 5, please.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, and I want to do a quick update about a document that got passed by the United Nations this weekend called the Pact of the Future document. It's 2 parts, one on science and technology and one about the youth and future generations. It is quite egregious, and it was done by a procedure called the silence procedure, which makes it a pact. And if no one objected, it is automatically adopted and put into the record as being completely adopted. This is the World Health Organization's runaround, or end around. Since they were not able to get the World Health Organization treaty passed, they decided to take it to the General Assembly. And it is even more egregious than what the World Health Organization was wanting to get passed. Let me just read you something really quickly about what is inside of this pact that is now being accepted by 193 nations around the world and equally open-armed accepted by our current administration. Everyone, it says that this is the power structure fully digital and maximized for the control of the masses. Everyone will be expected to have a biometric digital ID that marks them not just as citizens of an individual country, but as a global citizen. So anytime you hear global citizen or anytime you hear sustainability, think that this is an egregious thing that's happening at the level of the World Health Organization and the United Nations. Anyone that has a dissonant opinion will be labeled as misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation and memory hold. Perpetrators for unapproved information will be fact-checked and punished by the system, which will be operated and enforced by artificial intelligence. Punishments will include being locked out of one's bank account, being unable to make certain purchases, unable to get on an airplane, on a subway, drive on public roads. This is the future, according to the world's self-appointed overlords at the United Nations. These are unelected bureaucrats that are making decisions about our country, our sovereignty around the world. Nothing could be more important at this point in time than to get prepared. Have water, food, digital access, flashlights, a way to communicate with family and friends. Now is really the time to get involved and get prepared, because this is what's coming. Our Congress is sitting on its hands. There was a press conference on the 17th about this, and no further action has been taken. So it's up to us to mobilize and to go forward, particularly with your local sheriffs, to get your constitutional sheriffs to say, this isn't going to be allowed in my county. Thank you very much. Take action. We've been talking about the onset of one world order, one world government, one world religion, one world money for a long time. Well, it's no longer coming. It's here.
Wow. Okay, now this is the why. Tanner, could you go up the script a little bit, and there's a graphic on digital identity, and put that up for the viewers and for the listeners? This is a graphic that talks about the influence that us having a digital ID is going to have in our lives. And this is right now. I'm just going to read the countries that have recently enacted digital ID strategies and laws. That would be Australia, Bangladesh, China, India, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Pakistan, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Europe, Australia, Belgium, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine, and United Kingdom, Canada, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Uruguay. In Africa, Ethiopia, Morocco, and Nigeria. This is right now. This is happening right as we speak. This is why we need to organize. This is why we're going to have a strategy and tactic. Now, and this I have to, could you leave that graphic up there, please, Tanner? Thank you. This is why I have to give some props to Dan Schultz. Dan has been coming into my chats and saying, what does this have to do with winning politically? And I really resisted it. But you know what, Dan? You were correct. We know what the issue is. And if you don't know this is the issue, please rewatch the beginning of this podcast. Look at what digital identity is going to mean to you. It's going to mean that to access health care, you're going to have a digital ID. To access financial services, i.e. having a bank account or a checking account or a credit card, you're going to need a digital ID. To get food, you're going to need a digital ID. To travel and have mobility, you're going to need a digital ID. To do e-commerce business, you're going to need a digital ID. To get on a social platform like X, you're going to need a digital ID. To access government services, you're going to need your digital ID. To use a cell phone, you're going to need a digital ID. Do you realize the power that this digital ID is going to give to the overlords that do not care about you? They see you as inventory to be monetized. That's all you are to the professional politicians. And if you take a look at this, these professionals, and I don't care what state you're in, if these politicians that we elect do not emerge from the people and do not stand on the Constitution and preserving our freedom, hey, this digital ID, you're voting to close the prison door shut on your own digital prison. And when you do that, hey, it's over. This republic is over, your freedom is over, and your health and well-being is over. And of course, how they're going to pitch this to the liberals, we have to fight misinformation. Oh my God. We have to fight the misinformation. We have to end cyber harassment. Oh, we've got to protect the people from who? I guess from Professor Penn. That's what I'm putting out misinformation. See, this is going to be a time very soon that we won't be able to broadcast like this. In fact, as I do this, I wonder if this is going to get up on YouTube. I wonder it.
Yeah, this is heavy.
It's very heavy,
This is
isn't it?
heavy.
Yes, it's very heavy. So if there's no broadcast tonight and we get a strike, I guess I won't be surprised. But the point is this. We live in a democracy, a democratic republic. When I say a democracy, I don't mean it like 50% plus one. I mean, we have a voice. The people have a voice. If you want a digital ID and digital currency, like I talk to people, and I tell people all the time, don't pay your bills online. Write checks, gum up their system. Go get cash. I went to the bank yesterday and got some cash. I pay my bills in cash. Oh, well, it's very inconvenient. Yes, it is. It's very inconvenient. That's exactly what they want to take away from me, my cash. How are they going to take it away? The next financial crisis will be the end of greenbacks. They will replace it with the digital ID and digital currency. And when that happens, hey, I guess eating food will strongly incentivize preferred behavioral outcomes. I mean, Tanner, think about it. If you can't feed your daughter,
Yeah.
are you going to work here? Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a
conundrum. But of course,
conundrum.
they're going to tell you it's all good. We can trust these people. We can trust these people with our freedom. No, we live in a republic. It's not a democracy. I use the word democracy about having a vote. We live in a republic where you are a citizen sovereign under the philosophy of republicanism. You are the king or queen of your own life. You can pursue your own liberty and your own happiness. Our Republican philosophy protects the rights of citizen minorities, not illegal immigrants. No. And I see all this thing on X about where they, the people that don't believe in the Bible, they're using the Bible to talk about how in Leviticus, the Bible says, Israel, treat the foreigners in your land as if they're just like you. You know what? Not if they're invaders. Take a look at the texts on invasion. Then it's kill them to the last woman, man, and child, which I do not advocate. So selective reading of any text is very dangerous. You have to read it in its original language to understand it. So those of you who read Hebrew, have at it. The translation, hey, something gets lost in translation, right, Tanner?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes just a lot. My point is this. We have to have a reason to have strategy and tactics. And the reason is we're losing everything now, right now, today. Now, is Donald Trump doing things to preserve the Republic of the United States? Yes. Are other things happening for reasons I don't understand that I find deeply disturbing? Yes. Do I have any influence over Donald Trump? Do you have any influence over Donald Trump? And the answer is no, I do not. Do you know Donald Trump, on top of it, is going to be a lame duck in just 13 months? What is a lame duck? It means someone whose political capital is drained out. We're going to be on to the next chapter. That chapter will be written by these technological overlords or will be written by we the people. It's a binary choice, and we're going to have to get off our couches and get in the game. Now, what is the world like today? Could you please play number 6?
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. I am overwhelmed.
Okay. So this is where we're at. This is a congregation of African Americans. The preacher is preaching the ministry of division. And as long as we keep this division going, as long as we bite on the apple of disharmony, there's no way we're going to unify to protect ourselves from what's coming. And that's the whole point of this, right? The people that are in control of this society are sowing the seeds of civil war so that we beg for the digital ID. And that's going to be the outcome. And it's clear to me, and I hope it's clear to you. And what is not clear to me is if you personally are willing to, A, fund the movement, because this is a movement. We need money to make this work. Not a lot, just enough. Are you willing to organize your precinct? Are you willing to do the hard work that's going to be required to peacefully and constitutionally resolve this in a way that's good for my children and for your children? That's the question. Are we going to be able to stay on a peaceful path of constitutional governance? That is the question, because we're already in a soft civil war. Let's play number 7.
It's a dark time. I mean, I think it's very scary. It's happening very quickly, and we are seeing the results of electing a fascist and living what it feels like to be living under a fascist regime. And I'm sure Jimmy will be okay, but it's very scary, and it's absolutely state-sponsored censorship. So we'll see what happens next. I mean, the guy from the FCC said we can do this the easy way or the hard way. That's like mob stuff. So I'm very upset by it, and I'm not that, late night TV is not my thing, but that's okay. I think he should be able to say what he wants within reason. What he said didn't seem that crazy. So yeah, it's spooky.
There you go. It's fascist. This is a Hollywood dude. You know who he is if you know, and if you don't, he's probably insignificant. So I'm not going to go into who he is. He's well known. So I'm laying out why we have to have strategy and tactics, and I'm laying out that there's an end game here, that there's a crisis and a solution matrix that's put together, where the government of the overlords creates a problem like illegal immigration, and then there is a crisis that comes from it that needs a solution, and the solution is leading us towards the outcome that's preferred, which is us begging for the government to protect us. And of course, digital ID is going to be part of that protection. And you can see the polarization in our society now. We're in a soft civil war right now. We have the deployment of military into our major cities. We have assassinations. It's just very clear to me how unsafe and unsteady things are right now today. President Trump just declared armed conflict with the drug cartels. Well, who funds the drug cartels? How'd they get going? How's those drugs get in the country? What a big business. Who are all the people on that payroll? You think it's really just down in Mexico? Give me a break. It's drugs. You're in a major city. You got people in your city on the take, on the payroll, so that these drugs can flow. Drugs have been a weapon of war for hundreds of years. The British Empire created this as a weapon of war. How do you mess up a society? You get it hooked on drugs. Well, wait a second. What about the legal drugs we're all hooked on? Oops. So we got a war now in the Western Hemisphere on the drug cartels. President Trump issued an executive order last week naming Antifa as a domestic terror group. Yesterday, he announced it was an international terror group, which it is. Well-funded, well-organized, but if you read the newspaper, it's not centralized. It can't be a terror group. You know what? This reminds me of talking to people that are liberals, and a lot of them I like. People in the Republican Party see me as being divisive. That's just because I know you're Democrats. Well, let's not call you a Democrat because you got an R after your name. You're a progressive. You're a progressive. Very progressive. Isn't that a nice sounding word? Progressive.
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound great? Because the opposite is regressive. Like I'm some kind of dragger. I'm a regressive.
Yeah, are you just stuck in the past?
Yeah, stuck in the past. Stuck in the past where there's no digital IDs, where there's no digital currency, where people lived in harmony with nature and they believed in God. And, I'm a knuckle dragger. I understand my liberal friends. They don't believe in God and they think they're right. And they're entitled not to believe in God under our Republican system. But what they're telling me is, oh, look, President Trump is destroying the rule of law. The rule of law. We're not following procedures. Well, first of all, up till now, President Trump has not violated any court orders that I'm aware of. He's testing the limits of executive authority because rule of law has been perverted, in my opinion, through 100 years of progressive education. The lawyers and the judges don't believe in God, don't believe in they're progressive. And what they believe is what we got. And look at what we got. If we have rule of law, why are our streets unsafe? Why is our country coming apart at the seams? So President Trump is pushing it. He's pushing it hard. Antifa now a domestic and international terror group. The FBI cut all of its ties with the Anti-Defamation League this past week and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Why was the FBI involved with the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center? Well, I'm going to leave that for you to research and think about. But these were ideological organizations that were giving meaning and policy to the FBI's activities. What progressive came up with that idea? Well, that's no more. And what I'm saying is, I got a lot of things that are concerning me now about President Trump, but there is an effort to, I hope it's to maintain the republic. The dark side of me wonders if we're just being dragged into a civil war so that the outcome is digital ID. So the way to avoid the digital ID is let's find some things we can all agree on. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get to strategy and tactics very quickly here. And I'm going to tell you, and this is something that gets lost in this, and I want to comment on it because to me it's very apparent. I got to go back here, find my note on this. We fought a civil war in this country once before in 1861. The Democrat Party was the party of the Confederacy. I think most of you know that. In other words, the Democrat Party was the party that was defending the international slave trade, which is free trade, and it's the ultimate free trade. Boy, if you can trade human beings, that's free, right? That's freedom. Well, for me, if I can make you my slave, hey, that's free trade, baby. And that was their business model. And this crazy group of religious people looked at the political dynamics of our country in the 1850s, which was called the Whig Party, and they had an Antifa called the Know-Nothings. And I'm going to urge you all to please go watch The Gangs of New York, a great film by Martin Scorsese. You put it on your list of all the movies that I'm suggesting that you're not watching.
List.
Start with The Godfather, Tanner. Start with The Godfather. Anyhow, we've had this problem of immigration and what it is to be an American since the very first time there was an American, 1776. There are more laws about immigration than you can shake sticks at. This has been a political football all the way to the way back. 1861, we fought a war. These enslavers, the Democrats, went to war to defend their right to keep and hold slaves. And who fought them? This crazy group of Christians. They looked at the political dynamic and they said, man, there's a uni-party here. It's the Democrats and the Whigs. They're all good with this. The Whigs are saying, through their Antifa, the Know-Nothings, let's keep the Jews and the Catholics out of this country. Let's keep the popery out of this country. Let's keep the Irish out, the Italians out. Let's keep the Catholics out. And if you'll help us do that, Mr. Democrat, you can keep your slaves. That's called a uni-party. See, we've had the uni-party before. Corrupt to the core. And this dude come up here, you know, Abraham Lincoln. Tanner just visited his birthplace.
Yep.
And this guy, Honest Abe jumped up out of nowhere and said, hey, I'm not buying this uni-party thing. And he was able to coalesce a movement because enough citizens had had enough of the corruption that they were willing to die to preserve what's good and true about life. We fought. But you know what? We're fighting the same war today. And it's the same Democrat Party. And what do they have now? Well, they're not really slaves. They're immigrants, newcomers, people that have no resources, no history in the country, dependent on the government. They'll do what the government says. An army of tens of millions of people that have been brought here, and then we're told, oh, they're poor sufferers. No, they're brought here just like the Africans. They're inventory to these people. They don't mean well by them. They just say they do. And then they look at me and call me a fascist because I know what their game is. And here we have the same dynamic. People are emerging from the Republican Party that look at the uni-party, R's and D's together, that have created this system and are profiting from this system. And we're saying, no, this isn't going to work for us. So if you're a professional politician and you're not sincere in what you're doing, I'm calling you out. That's a tactic. You don't like it? Too bad. I talked to a guy on the phone yesterday from my own district. I didn't know him. He wanted to let me know him, and what the words that came out of his mouth? Andrew Myers is a weasel. I said, wow, that's rather strange thing to say to somebody you don't know. Maybe I'm a supporter of Andrew Myers. You see, so people are starting to wake up out there, and that's just the way it is. So I'm going to say that this civil war, this soft civil war that we're in, is just a repeat of 1861. But the outcome of this war is just as uncertain as it was in 1861. And it's only going to work if you please take this as the political action community that it is. Come to the roycewhite.us website and put your information into caucus counterattack. Let us be organized. Let us create lists of people. Let's get together. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But what is happening here in the country is happening all over the world. All over the world. This is not a Minnesota thing or a CD3 thing or a Kentucky thing or an Oregon thing. This is going on everywhere, all the time. This is a worldwide confrontation between the forces of tyranny and the handful of citizens that don't want to be enslaved. And there's way more of us than there are of the enslavers if we could just take this seriously and organize ourselves. We could solve this problem constitutionally at the ballot box if we just keep working, and we've made a lot of progress. But let us not look to President Trump to solve these problems. I have to solve it. You have to solve it. Let's play number 2, please. Clip number 2 under economy.
It's kind of like a perfect storm.
Jim Freitag is an executive with CBRE, a global commercial real estate and investment firm. He's a go-to for major corporations here trying to sell off buildings they no longer need. His team put together this quick-look assessment of the vacancy rates among some of the city's most iconic buildings. The dark shades in the windows here represent occupied spaces, the green light indicating what's vacant and available. Blue lights show subleased spaces where leaseholders want out. Look at the city center. The data shows we didn't have vacancy like this in the years before 2020. All of this happened on the backside of COVID and the rioting and the increased safety concerns downtown as the city council has continued to cut police funding.
If you look at all those buildings, the tallest ones in town, pre-pandemic, if you will, were probably in round numbers, all worth about $300 million apiece.
Freitag says the drop in value of those same buildings today is shocking.
60, 70%, in some cases 80 or 90% discount from previous valuations or previous sales.
60 to 90%.
I mean, it's a big number. It's a big number.
In fairness, vacancies are up in many parts of the U.S., but this year, MSP logged the highest level of financial distress in the country. Data analysis reveals nearly half, 49.7% of the building loans in MSP are in distress, meaning behind on payments, requiring new financing. Several investors here have backed out of the cities at substantial losses, including the stunning exit of the Ameriprise building. It sold last about 10 years ago for $200 million. It sold earlier this year for a little over $6 million. That's about 3 cents on the dollar.
We're killing the goose that laid the golden egg.
Tanner, do you remember when we covered the Ameriprise sale?
Yeah, that was not too long ago.
Not too long ago. So, you can come here to Free People Radio to hear it first, because I like to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening. What you're looking at is economic collapse. And to say it's by accident would be quite naive. It's not by accident. This is a collapse of a major city. And then, Rick Kopchella said, to be fair, this is happening all around the country. Oh, yeah, it's happening in every major city. Because all the major cities are controlled by guess who? The enslavers. Oh, no, they're called Democrats. Excuse me. Got it wrong. Excuse me, Democrats. So you're going to take credit now for the collapse of all the major cities, along with your collaborationist, progressive Republicans who like to get along with you because, we got to govern together. So this collapse is on the backs of all the people that are in office today. Your job was to be the sheepdog and protect me. You laid down on the job. You weren't a sheepdog. You collaborated. And that's why I say we need a whole new crew of people to emerge from the neighborhoods, organizing their neighborhoods, and then getting into the political process. It's going to be very messy. We're not professionals. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. But as I've said, for many, many years, I believed that you can't let the inmates run the asylum because I was, a voter for George Bush in 2000. I did. I admit it. Raise your hand if you voted for George Bush. Nobody can see you. You're at home alone. But in your heart, take an inventory. And now, what I believe is you can't let the inmates run the asylum unless the doctors are a bunch of mass murdering kids. And that's what we got right now. So, this is what's happening economically. All the jobs that were created under the Biden administration, we found out were fictive. They've revised the job creation numbers of the last year. And I watched the leftists blame it on Trump when the years that were revised was 10 months for Biden, 2 months for Trump. They were off so far, it couldn't have been an accident. It was corruption. That would be the Bureau of Labor Statistics. President Trump replaced the leftist who was in charge of that data. How can you fly an airplane if if you can't figure out what your altitude is, how do you fly the plane? How do you make decisions if you're the Fed, if your data's faulty? Oh, great. Isn't that interesting? So we're making a bunch of policy decisions based on faulty data. And we're supposed to think it was an accident. It just happened. Mistakes happen. That's why we revised the numbers. Mistakes happen. Great. You see, they've been setting up this scam for a very, very long time. Let's play clip number 3.
Groups are like, well, we must protect our unhoused neighbors. There's no group saying these are basically places for drug dealers to sell drugs. No, they're not good. They're not good for the homeless, and they're not good for our community. They are places where people die.
Dr. Carol Becker is editor of the Minneapolis Times. She worked for Democratic Mayor Sharon Sayles Belton, spent 16 years on the Board of Estimate and Taxation. She's also a college professor. Becker cites a litany of city council proposals she considers hostile to business and growth.
We have this proposal for a labor standards board that will dictate how businesses run in Minneapolis. We have a vote to close I-94 between downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul because somehow we don't need to go to the suburbs anymore. And we have a vote to close the garbage burner because we're going to become zero garbage, zero waste in a year. We are 128th out of 128 Midwest cities in new housing starts. People are not coming here. And so you have to start stepping back and saying, what is it that's driving this? Who are the people leading our city? And what are they implementing that is keeping these people from investing in the city?
I agree, businesses here are struggling.
Council Vice President and Budget Chair Aisha Chugtai oversees nearly $2 billion of your taxpayer money. She says her constituents don't share the same concerns that business has.
And just hearing them talk about like the challenges with the retention of businesses and all the things that we can actually do to stimulate economic development, we're not interested in that.
Remember where we started this story? In Uptown, where Jim Rubin showed us all the boarded up buildings and empty streets? This is Chugtai's ward. Here's what she sees.
I think Uptown has always been and always will be the comeback queen. And she's in the middle of a comeback right now.
She envisions a comeback no longer intended to attract outsiders to the area.
It was built for people who live in the suburbs and choose to visit Minneapolis. And I think that when we build a major economic hub around people who don't actually go here, then it is at the whims of whether they feel like coming here or not.
One of the things that I guess younger or far left people do not examine is the role of business in the prosperity of a region and the availability of jobs and the trajectory of the community. And so business has become sort of an enemy.
And you start to get to this question of these extremists bringing in policies that are anti-job, anti-wealth building, against small business, making it hard to get around the city.
Where does this go?
Number one, we have to decide whether or not moderates are going to come back into the discussion space.
Chugtai and Chavez are both members of the Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA. There are two others as well, Oren Chowdhury, who no longer makes reference to the DSA endorsement she promoted last election, and Robin Wansley, who's an avowed Marxist.
This is why I'm a Marxist. This is why I'm a socialist. Like, it's about having opportunity for working class people, convening opportunities for working class people to flex their power.
Robin Wansley isn't just the leader, she is the one that is introducing the most legislation and the most influential. She's the one that everybody votes with the most, and she does not believe in capitalism. She does not believe in private ownership of property. She wants the government to own it all. That's how extreme we are talking about for our city council.
We just talked about this on the last podcast with Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Polling. Tanner, I think Tanner and I enjoyed that podcast very, very much, and I urge you to go back and watch it if you haven't. Mark covered the youth cohort, and dispelled a myth that has been popping up in the Republican Party ranks that there's some great resurgence of traditional faith and conservatism amongst the youth. And Mark dispelled that beautifully because he has the polling data. And he talked about, and, I've learned so much just talking to Tanner about this. People Tanner's age, they've never enjoyed any of the fruits of free market capitalism because there have been no fruits to consume because the boomers stole all the money. Corrupt assholes that run the parties, both of them. Do I sound angry about it? And I am angry because freedom is such a beautiful thing. When you see communism pop up, it is a sledgehammer to break apart an oligarchy which oppresses the people. It is a politics of rage and revolution. So I'm not surprised that people in Minneapolis, young people, look at the age of those council members, and this is happening everywhere in the country. This is not happening here in Minneapolis. It's happening in St. Paul. It's happening in New York City. It's happening in Los Angeles. It's happening everywhere. Young people are not getting any benefits from being American citizens. They're going to use Marxism as a sledgehammer to break this corruption. Well, why can't we deal with it ourselves as believers in the philosophy of republicanism? Because, the truth is, these liberals, if they really understood the philosophy of republicanism, they'd realize that republicanism and Marxism are both twin children of the effort to overthrow feudalism in Europe. They're so close. They both have the same diagnosis of the problem. Corruption and oligarchy, kleptocracy must be overthrown. It is unwell for me to live in a society where a small group of people rule over me. It doesn't make me feel well. What a Republican believes is we're all citizen sovereigns. What the Marxist believes is, people are defective. We're going to have to govern them with a digital ID. Look at the outcome that is right around the corner for us here in the United States. This is spreading throughout the world because the oligarchy, the kleptocracy is worldwide, a worldwide confederation of rent-seeking international globalist corporations who have no interest in sharing the gains of our work with our young people. And if they can rob me of everything I have, they're fine with that too. And we have to oppose this through political organization. Is it any surprise that U.S. companies are going bankrupt at the fastest pace since 2008? Because all over the country this problem is going on. Our farmers are in dire straits, and they blame it on tariffs. Hey, maybe the whole farming industry went awry when it sought global markets. Maybe there's an unbalance to globalism. And when President Trump tries to reverse that polarity, of course there's going to be casualties. We are deeply down the rabbit hole in the wrong direction. Tanner, could you please play number 8? strategy and tactics. Why do I play the great Muhammad Ali? Timing, speed, spirit. It's just inspiring to me personally. The health and well-being that's required to be in this fight at this time in world history, that's the first tactic. The first tactic is to improve your well-being. The first tactic is to look at anything you're doing which detracts from your well-being and pray or seek or study for a way to reverse that unhealthy process. Wherever I am, I can get better. At whatever age I am, I can get better. And we know how to get better. I mean, the truth is, none of this is a secret anymore. We know how to eat. We know how to breathe. We know how to walk. And if you don't know, you can learn. And if you want to be in this game, you're going to have the strength to play. So if you're underweight, gain some muscle. If you're overweight, lose some fat. If you're not breathing well, figure it out. You know, Mark Mitchell, I think that was such a great podcast. He talked about his own effort to deal with his own sleep apnea, and he dealt with it naturally. You know, there's so much health and well-being that is associated with the philosophy of republicanism. Let's start there. First tactic, let's improve our personal well-being. And I'm sure I'll be talking a lot about that in podcasts to come. We have to have the strength to go the distance. We have to have the strength to win. We have to have the will to overcome, to prevail. Politics is a battle of the human will. And they say, well, there's mind and body. That is a scam. We call it mind, body, and spirit to study mind, body, and spirit. But in actuality, there's just me. There is no mind, body, and spirit in David Penn. There's just me. My body is not stupid because I've studied it and I know how intelligent it is. You know what I really like watching? I love watching all these nature videos on X because it shows me how brilliant these animals are. And what was I taught? They're stupid.
Yeah. No, true.
It's such a scam. We're living in a constructed scam. And all we got to do is study until we see the hidden truth. And that's exactly what they don't want us to see. Because as soon as we see the truth, hey, that's called taking a red pill, isn't it? Take the red pill, baby. Take the red pill or live in the pod. It's up to you. Whatever you prefer. That's what we're going to find out. Please play clip number 4.
We wanted to understand how these DSA-endorsed members have so much influence on City Council when there are only 4 of them. They're not even close to a majority. Over the past 4 months, we've made several requests for sit-down interviews with each of them. 2 initially agreed and then canceled. The other simply never responded. But the question remains, how has the DSA managed to push through so many extremist proposals? So we brought in a mathematician to analyze how every member voted on every issue last year. And what we found is startling. Take a look at the numbers. It takes 7 out of 13 votes to pass a resolution by majority. Last year, mainstream Democrats, the DFL, aligned with the socialist DSA as a majority 85% of the time or more. A supermajority, which overrides mayoral vetoes, requires 9 out of 13 votes. Mainstream Democrats aligned with socialists 69% of the time or more. And get this, the council president, Elliott Payne, who ran as a mainstream Democrat, voted with the socialists 93 to 98% of the time.
But that's amazing. That's a powerful visual of, is that one party? Is that 2 parties? What is their true affiliation? Or are they saying what they need to say to get in the door and maybe there's a different agenda?
Stuart Ackerberg is a lifelong Democrat from a second-generation family that's been doing business in Uptown more than 60 years.
The council member that controls the core of the commercial space in Uptown, the 10th Ward, in my opinion, has not been really pro-business, has not been pro-safety and security.
Have you ever read the DSA platform?
I have. It's frightening. Frightening. I think everyone should read it because it is astounding. I was shocked and saddened and a little afraid when I read it.
Now, this is what Ackerberg is talking about. The DSA platform. That's their goals and objectives. They want to free all incarcerated people. They want to close local jails, disarm and defund the police. They want to abolish prisons, end all misdemeanor offenses, and cut funding for prosecutors. And then they would like social ownership of all major industry and infrastructure.
We're back to communism, where government owns the whole economy, that there is no capitalism, and there's no private ownership of businesses.
How did this happen?
I was an elected official in 2017 when we first saw social media being this new organizing tool, and they used it to overthrow the moderates on the city council.
According to Becker, the DSA brought less radical groups into its fold by sounding more moderate until after the election.
And then comes in with this much, much more radical agenda. It isn't, we're going to represent the people who are here. It was, we're going to rebuild the city in our image.
Part of why I think the DSA has been successful is that we're looking at elections taking place on off years.
Political scientist Dr. David Schultz says it's no coincidence this group is ramping up for election in 2025. It's an off-year election with traditionally very low turnout. Also unusual, this election year, everybody on the city council is up for re-election. The DSA has endorsed a 5th candidate for city council, a candidate for mayor, and 2 more for Parks and Recreation.
Activists, this is their only game in town. And they're motivated, they show up, and what? In an electoral democracy, those who show up get to move the political agenda.
There are lots and lots of people who have been voting Democrat their whole lives. They don't understand that they're voting for a socialist instead of what had been the Democratic agenda. I don't know how many more years we can live with this extremist agenda, but it's not working.
For Becker, this is a fight to the finish. It's either take back her city or be forced to leave.
They're talking about a wealth tax. I had double-digit tax increases last year. I've got double-digit tax increases that are probably going to happen this year. I don't know that I can continue to even afford my home.
So we asked her, what's her breaking point?
That's good, Tanner. Thank you. And just as she said, people are voting Democrat and they don't know what they're voting for. We got Republicans that don't know what they're voting for. So let's review what we just saw as we get into the strategy and tactics. The Democrat Party votes with the DSA 90% of the time, or 80 to 90% of the time. And that Democrat real estate developer said, is it one party? Is it 2 parties? I don't know. So then all of the collaborator Republicans that vote with the Democrats are really voting with the socialists. That's the point. That's why it's progressivism. So we got to get this straight. So the people like Julia Coleman and Andrew Myers and Jim Abler and Danny Nadeau, you guys got to pick a side of the football now, because we can't deal with these people because they are in league with the Democrat socialists. So we're either going to stand up together, we're either going to hang together, or we're going to hang separately. We've heard that one before, haven't we? So we better start hanging together. That's number one. What is our long-term strategy? Our long-term strategy is to change the culture of Minnesota. Politics is just a thermometer. An election is a thermometer. It gives us a read of the culture of the state on a particular day. Our goal is to change the culture of the state from progressivism and socialism to the philosophy of republicanism. And how are we going to do that? Well, those are the strategy and tactics we need to talk about. Our long-term strategy is to turn this entire world into the philosophy of republicanism so that people can live free, because freedom is integral to human well-being. The key to human well-being is freedom of choice if we want to maximize our well-being. There can be no compromise with evil Julia Coleman, Danny Nadeau, Andrew Myers. We can't be compromising with these people because When you compromise with the Democrat, they're in league with the socialists. Can't you see it? And I get so much joy out of watching every person interviewed on this special, Precarious State, is a progressive. And their hair's on fire because now they realize they've given birth to a monster, a Frankenstein that is no longer controllable. As we talked about with Mark Mitchell, young people have no fruit, no benefit from the philosophy of republicanism because it has been replaced by the post-World War II Democrat liberal order, which is a rent-seeking corruption of intergalactic proportions. And that's why Marx said the most important thing politically is ending corruption and regaining the trust in our institutions. How are we going to do that? That's called switching out the people that are involved in the game. Now, you heard them on that special, that the political science professor, they're talking about off-year elections. And Dan Schultz talks about this all the time. In an off-year primary election, only 20% of the Republicans show up to vote. That means who gets the victory in the primary is determined by 1/5 of the possible electoral pool. Yet we don't have enough America Firsters or American nationalists or MAGA people or what. The label is not clear to me yet because the philosophy is not clarified. But we certainly don't have enough political action going on in our side of the football to change our party. And as Mark Mitchell said, the Republican Party is not coming to the rescue. But over on the Democrat side, oh, hey, those young people, hey, they're motivated. They're not with us here with the Republicans. Hey, our Republican Party, 462 years old, want to get together for pint politics, have some chicken wings and complain. But their children and grandchildren are actually going to caucus and changing the nature of our state from progressive to communist. And that's the natural progression of things. There's no surprise in this. So, if you're 462 years old, please organize with me. How are we going to do that? Well, what are our short-term strategies? Our short-term strategy, our immediate strategy, what we have to do right now is organize your precinct. Now, that is the job of the traditional Republican Party of Minnesota, led by Alex Plekish. And guess what? In SD 45, where I live, because it's his Senate district, he's pretty organized because he's been here. He's a political rounder, and he's got a lot of friends that go to caucus and get elected as delegates, so he controls his backyard. I learned it the hard way. But guess what? My precinct is W3PB. Joshua Coburn, that's yours too. Let's see who's going to get the job done in W3PB. That's my... Tanner, there is a map of W3PB just down the script. Can you put that up? Josh, Tanner's going to put up a picture, because you can get your map. There's my map. That's where I live. That is my precinct. And guess what I've got? I've got for you, if you live in Minnesota, and, if you're in Kentucky or you're in Ohio or you're in Florida, you can do the same thing. You got to find a way, a strategy, and a tactic that works in your backyard. Here's what I'm doing in my backyard. RoyceWhite.us. Royce White is a charismatic candidate. He has tens of thousands of people that have signed up to be on his mail list, to be a volunteer. Just at the state fair, I think he signed up thousands of people, which was just a few weeks ago. Fresh, enthusiastic supporters. We have their names, we have their addresses, we have their email addresses, their telephone numbers. You know what I did? I went out and bought the state of Minnesota voter record. I got a data guy. He could work for you too if you're in Minnesota. He's going to cross-compare our House list of volunteers with the Minnesota state voter record, and guess where? W3PB. Maybe there's 8, maybe there's 10, Maybe there's 20. I don't know how many, but I'm going to call every one of those people. And I'm going to get together with them, and I'm going to make sure that in February of 2026, they come to caucus with me, and we're going to elect each other. I am going to conquer my backyard. This is the precinct strategy. You know, I've been preaching it, but nobody seems to want to do it. So guess what? I'm going to do it. And anybody that wants to do it with me, if you go to roycewhite.us and put your name in there, we're going to contact you. If you go to support@TireGet.com, that's support@TireGet.com, you can say, hey, dear David, I would like to organize my precinct. Hey, guess what? In your precinct, I've got all the volunteers for the campaign, and I got the voter records. We'll supply you with the names of the people you need to contact. Because what's great about Royce, in addition to that he's completely unscripted, unvarnished, and incorruptible. Oh, yeah, he's got all kinds of, flat spots. He swears. He's got some ex-wives, kids, all kinds of problems. Like me, like you. I'm not corruptible. I don't care what my past was. It's not relevant to my present. My present is I've given over to spreading the philosophy of republicanism. I've dropped my baggage. I'm made new. I'm born again in pursuit of preserving the republic, maintaining my freedom, and really my freedom to worship in what I believe is the one true God. So, I'm born again, baby, and you can be too. You can get in touch with me. We can get you the names of 8 or 10 people in your backyard. It's not hard to call 8 or 10 people in your precinct. Now, tactic. The first thing you have to know in any fight is where are you on the battlefield? The first thing you need to do in whatever state you live in, your Secretary of State will have something called a precinct finder. You go to the Secretary of State website, you find their precinct finder module, you follow the bouncing ball, and guess what? It's going to tell you exactly what precinct you're in, exactly what Senate district you're in, exactly what legislative district you're in, what is your polling place, who's your commissioners, everything you need to know about where you are. Now you got a place. Go online. Artificial intelligence can be used for good. Say, hey, dear Grok, can you please give me a map of my precinct? And voila, the map's going to come out. Tack it on your wall. That is the only thing you got to be concerned with. Now, if you're on a BPOU here in Minnesota, Basic Political Operating Unit, a Senate District Committee, and that is a functioning committee, like my friend Robert, who set up these great interviews for me with Richard Barris and Mark Mitchell. Thank you, Robert, for doing this for me. He's on a very functional committee of hardcore constitutional Americans. He needs to work through his committee to organize his precincts. Every precinct, there's 4,100 precincts in Minnesota. Every one of them needs one citizen to do the job. Well, we're going to start with one person. That's me. If you're on a committee that works, work through your committee. If you're on a committee like I was, which is all confounded up with rhinos and a handful of people that care about the Constitution of the United States, people that are grifters, like are here in SD45, grifters. The committee is led by the queen of the grifters. I don't want to fight with her. It's a waste of time. These people are water balloons. You ever had a water balloon? You can squish it. It'll take any form. These people will take any form. All they want to do is absorb your energy so you're not effective. One could say that the entire Republican Party in the Twin Cities is just there to absorb the energy of political educators so that they're ineffective. Because what do these committees do? Nothing. And how do I know that? The evidence. Look at Minneapolis. It's going communist. Where's the Republicans in Minneapolis? The city's gone communist. There's obviously no Republicanism there. Same thing in St. Paul. Same thing in CD3, where I live. The committee chair, Stan Hamilton, he's a friend of mine. He's a cool dude. Got Rod Kern. I go out to eat with him. I don't agree with their political philosophy. What they think is we got to cater to the communists through progressive republicanism. It doesn't work. We've been sliding to the left forever since I sat in that room with those professors in 1969. Go back and look at the history of our state. What was Minnesota in 1969? It was not like this. It was a completely different kind of environment. Hey, if you keep doing something that doesn't work, that would be called insanity. We have to dig our heels in and not compromise with evil. And that's where I'm at. And if you don't like it, you can go bite a hog in the ass. This is a game of the human will. The immediate strategy, if you are on a committee that's confounded with conflict, stop fighting with these people. Find out what your precinct is and organize it. Caucus is in February of 2026. You got plenty of time to meet 8 or 10 people and bring them to caucus. We got to have the biggest caucus in Minnesota history in 2026. If we don't want to have digital IDs, if we don't want to have digital currency, if we want to stay free, if we want to stay well, there's no cavalry coming. We're going to have to do it ourselves. Do you read me? Do you read me? Can I get an amen? You organize your precinct. If I can help you, you find me. We'll get you voter data. We'll help you organize your precinct. Free People Radio and Free People of America is a center of Minnesota politics. Why? Because I say it is, and when you believe it, it will be. Now, there's going to be people, and I remember this at the Republican Party. Oh, David Penn's a grifter. F*** you. This thing has only cost me money and time. If it was up to me, I'd be on a mountainside praying all day, playing the piano, and training. This is a pain in the ass doing this, and the only reason I'm doing it is because I have to. I was talking to Royce about this just yesterday, and we both agreed what suffering this is and how dangerous it is. But if you and I don't do it, who's going to do it? That's why I played the Muhammad Ali piece. Bravery, tenacity, indomitable will, speed, timing. We got to get this together now. Whatever you got to relate to develop your own power, your own personal health, find it and do it. And if I seem controlling and demanding, it's because it's my ass. These people come back. You soft-ass Republicans. You think these communists take over and they're going to spare you because you're a collaborator? Who dies first in the take? Tanner, who did the Nazis kill first? Who did the Soviets? Who did the Trotskyites? Who did the Bolsheviks kill first? The collaborators, because they knew they couldn't trust them. So you think you're a soft Republican? These people are communists. Don't you get it? Look at the Democrat side. They've just broken the glass. What do they call it? The fire alarm. They just pulled the fire alarm. They said, help, help, our city's going communist. But you know what? They also give you the quiet part out loud. The Democrat is voting with the socialists up to 90% of the time. The Democrat land developer said, I can't tell the difference. Is there one party? Is there two parties? He's saying there's a uni-party. They're saying it on their side. Well, guess what we got to do? We got to hold meetings. We got to convert people to Republicanism. I remember I was at a meeting with Alex Plekish. Stood up at the microphone and said, oh, that person was a Democrat. They can't be a delegate. Alex, that's just stupid. We're never going to win this state if we don't go down. This is another tactic. We got to go down into CD5 and CD4 and start working with those citizens. You don't think that there are tens of thousands of urban residents that are suffering from this economic collapse and this urban crime, and they know that there's no answer from the Democrat? The only reason they're not Republican is the racism and anti-Semitism and elitism that's in the Republican Party. They prefer the devil they know to the devil they don't know because they're afraid of us, because of the inequity that is in the Republican Party. And that's why we have a battle in the party to root that out. But here's another tactic. We're going to fight that battle till the day after the primary. On the day after that primary, a soft Republican is better than a communist. The day after the election, we're going to start fighting in the party again. So guess what? We are united with you. We're just going to unite on our terms, which is the Constitution of the United States. And let me make that very clear. For me personally, the rally point is the Constitution. Why don't you read it? That's a good place to start. That's a good tactic. If you haven't read the Constitution, please read it, word for word. It's kind of like Mark and Matthew. You can read it 1,000 times. People devote their lives to constitutional scholarship.
The editor of the Minneapolis Times, what she's learned about other pressing needs for change. Her answer? Our political system. Given the Twin Cities is mostly Democratic, her focus is primarily on what's happening with the Democratic Party.
The ward endorsements are done by like 200 people. There's 35,000 people in a ward, and 200 people show up and make those choices. And you just have to find the right 200 and you can get a socialist endorsed. And once they get endorsed, they usually win. The caucus system in Minneapolis is unfixably broke.
Any other nominations?
Should be done away with.
Nominations are closed.
Ranked choice voting.
Not only is it bad, I teach people how to game it. We should not have a voting system where I teach people how to game the system.
That's good. So guess what? Now here's a liberal, and she's preaching for the end of the caucus system. And that same thing is going on in the Republican Party. Oh, we got to take the educators out of the game. Because, see, what they want, both sides, the uni-party, is they want the grift to continue. What do the progressives want? They want the communists, they want to control the grift. What I want is a corruption minimization strategy and a human well-being strategy. And if we demand it, if we demand the philosophy of republicanism, we'll have a first turning and we'll restore some dignity and some goodness and some humanity to our country. But it's only going to happen if we demand it. Did you hear what she said? Let's end the caucus system. Let's end the caucus system. Let's end the opportunity for the citizens to endorse authentic people. Great. Great. It's politics, baby. It's rough and tumble. We got to keep our eye on the prize. The eye on the prize, that prize is freedom. Now, any citizen can organize their precinct. Anybody. You don't have to be in the party. You do not have to be in a political party to organize your precinct. All you need is the voter data and call the people that are like-minded and go to caucus. And guess what? It's like you're running for office. I say this all the time. You want to do politics? You got to create your own constituency. I have thousands and thousands of people that follow me and listen to me, and I thank you, and I appreciate it. And please go to TireGet.com and support the broadcast so we could have hundreds of thousands. We need money. That's part of politics. But we don't need the kind of money that these assholes want. I don't need tens of millions of dollars. I just need enough to expand the broadcast and not go broke doing this. So let me just tell you, anybody can be a politician in their own backyard. It's called making friends with your neighbors. It's about making lists of people. So, you can have a barbecue. I'll give you the people to contact. Contact them. Invite them for a barbecue. Come up, here's a tactic. Don't say you're Republican or Democrat. Come up with something that is not politically polarizing. Come up with a special interest group like fixing potholes in SD45 or improving my child's test scores if you have kids in school. Something that's going to bring people together. What are the unifying issues? Well, Richard Barris told us what they were. Health freedom, medical freedom, religious freedom, food freedom, economic freedom. Those freedoms, everybody agrees, not everybody, but a vast majority of Americans agree that religious freedom is important. What does that mean if you're a Catholic or a Jew? That means if somebody wants to be an atheist, that's cool. That's called freedom. Then who is in charge of the politics is determined by who shows up. as we heard on the show Precarious State from the political professor. Who shows up to govern wins the day. We're just not showing up. And we're showing up more than we did in the past, but not enough. And if you're in the party, if you're in Mean GOP, a lot of your time's getting wasted. If you're on a political committee and you're not organizing your precinct, you're wasting your time. Really, you're wasting your time. Because what matters now is grassroots organization, grassroots mobilization. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going back to the future. I'm bringing back the master class. And that's where I started. And those that have you been with me for a long time, in 2021, when I started to get organized in the party, I started holding something I called the master class here in CD3. And that's not Masonic, it's musical. If anybody of you have been a musician, you know we have master classes. I know there's a Masonic overtone. That's accidental. Let's not go crazy with the conspiratorial thinking. I'm telling you, I'm giving my personal testimony. I'm not a Mason. I'm a musician. I play the piano. So I call it a master class. I went to, at the behest of my political mentor, Dave Kylo, I went to the chair of the CD3 Executive Committee, Randy Sutter, and I asked him if he would support me holding classes in CD3. He said, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "I want to increase the population of Republicans in my backyard." And he said two things. You can do it if you pay for it, and never talk about election integrity. I said, okay, I agree. So I paid for it out of my own pocket, and I committed not to talk about election integrity. Now, this is 2021, so that was quite a sacrifice. But see, I was a team player at the time. I was here to serve the party. I didn't realize the party was full of corrupt assholes. I didn't get that at the time because I came in with a childlike heart. And after 4 or 5 of these sessions, people started to get pissed because we started to get more and more people coming in because I've got some charisma. And we put on a hell of a show. And it was getting up to 80, 90, 100, 120 people showing up regular. And people started to complain because they didn't like the politics that I was promoting. And guess what the politics was? The search for truth. That's all I was doing, the search for truth. I didn't say I had the answers. I was searching for truth with the people that were coming. People started saying, "Oh, Penn, he's ambitious. He's self-serving." Oh, you people. I was there to save my state. And then Randy started to come because he heard it was, kind of a hot deal. And guess what he did when he saw that it was working? He shut it down. And I said, "Randy, why are you shutting this down?" And he goes, "Well, David, remind me why you're doing this." And I said, "Randy, I'm trying to build the party. I'm trying to get more Republicans going." And he said, "David, we don't need more Republicans. We need more work from the Republicans we already have." And I didn't understand what he meant because I was so childlike. What he was saying was, don't change the balance of power. I might lose my seat. And then the word came down from David Hand. We don't want people mixing from different districts. Stay in your lane. In other words, we don't want all the American Firsters to meet each other because you might get organized. Well, guess what? We all know each other now. Some of us don't like each other. It doesn't always work. Sometimes there's misfires. But the truth is we know who each other are, and we can organize together. We can use media. Remember what she said, the doctor, the college professor? Digital media is important for organizing. Follow me on X at Prof. Penn Podcast. Follow me on Getter at the Professor Penn Podcast. Be a follower on YouTube. Here's a tactic that's very important. Repost the links to the podcast in your socials. Spread out the word. There's not going to be any support for this politics from the algos. But if the citizens band together and spread the word, hey, there was a resistance in World War II. It was called the French Underground. Hey, they didn't have any digital media. Maybe that's why they were underground. Of course, there's a light and a dark to everything. Everybody's going to know who we are. But guess what? If you're a Republican, they already know who you are. Every website you look at, every post, every text, It's all recorded. The NSA's got all of it. So don't get scared now. You're already ham. You're already made, marked. We're fighting for our freedom. We want to fight constitutionally and peacefully. We can fight by organizing. The long-term strategy is changing the culture of our precinct, our congressional district, and our state. The short-term strategy is get ready for caucus. I will help you identify the people in your backyard you need to talk to. Repost the links. I am coming to meetings. If you've got meetings that you're doing in your district, get in touch with me. We'll get some heavyweight people coming out there to help you grow your constituency. You're a candidate in your backyard. This is not very systematized. I'm giving you a machine gun approach of tactics that you need to use. Now, is everybody of the 10,000 or 20,000 people are going to see this? Are you all going to do this? I really would wish that you would, but we don't need everybody. We need the people that are willing to do the work. This is not fun. This is not glorious. It's hard work, and that's why people aren't doing it. It's a lot less difficult than going to a gulag. I assure you, oh, no, that can never happen in Minnesota. Oh, you're just a conspiratorial. I can just hear Julia Coleman. That'll never happen. That'll never happen. You know what? I'm sure there was a bunch of people sitting around in 1905 in Russia saying, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. And in Germany in 1932, that'll never happen here. You see, what makes this country free is the philosophy of republicanism. Other philosophies are not about freedom. Look around the world, the slaughter and the carnage all over the world where we don't have the philosophy of republicanism. So we have a lot to fight for. I'm fighting for my ass, and so are you. I'll keep you posted on when the next masterclass is going to be. It's coming soon. I'm going to do it every month until the breath comes out of my lungs. I got to laugh. One of my ex-friends, who's Jewish, who got polarized with me over Israel and many other issues, just texted me and he said, wow, Trump brought an end to the war in Gaza. Yes, he did. He can now turn his attention to the war in the Ukraine. That's the air game. We don't have any effect about that at all. President Trump, our Justice Department has sued the state of Minnesota to get the voter records. They're suing on immigration fraud. They're suing the state on a whole range of issues. That's the air game. Wars are won on the ground. Get going right now. And on that very directive and uncompromising note, thank you. If life was normal, I would never act like this. This is not the way I want to be. I don't want to be controlling or directive. I don't want to be judgmental or call people out. That's not who I am. I get no joy out of it. Thanks for joining. I wish you a great weekend, a healthy weekend. It's beautiful. Get outside. And God willing, I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday.
Have a good night, everybody.